Welcome to this video on the Zen Word channel. My name is Sri Sadhguru, Buddha Rawa Bhagwan. Today's video on the channel will discuss why the forests of Romania are haunted. So there are haunted forests in Romania, right? And why are they haunted? What is the story of their haunting? How did they become haunted? And so why are the stories of Romania haunted? Okay. So, you may be interested in listening to the last video on this channel about the origin of the power of Romanian witches. Very interesting video. So, the hints of this video are kind of in that past one, actually, where we talk about why the forests are haunted. So, the story of the haunting of Romania. How did all these spiritual beings, and there are different types of spiritual beings, but the beings that haunt Romania. So the forces of the devil, how did they get to Romania, and how did they get into the forests of Romania? Right? So we'll talk specifically about this in this video. So, in the storyline, Romania is known as a land of supernatural beings and also known as the land of the devil, right? And the reason it's known as the land of the devil, okay, and this is related to the stories of Count Dracula and all this, but the reason it's known is because it is known that in the land of Romania, the devil took an avatar, took form, so came into a body, and the devil came down with many of his forces which accompany him when he moves. So he came to the land of Romania, and so did many of his demonic forces. Okay? They came to Romania. So different types of demons. Okay? So what happened at that point is that the devil, okay, which is a form or a facet of God, a facet of the experience of God, okay, came to Earth, came to Romania, and slept with many gypsy women. Okay, he came into their caravans and slept with them in the night. Okay, he appeared, the devil, and slept with them and impregnated them and gave them children and turned them through the process of union through wedding into a witch, where they got powers, and then their child also got powers, and they had gotten powers to protect their child as their child would grow up. And these created all these different women that the devil visited, created the different lineages of the Romanian lineages of the bloodline of the devil. Now, this doesn't make bad people. Witches are also human, right? They have their part that's human, but they have that bloodline of the devil, okay? So depending on how developed that bloodline has been through interselective weddings, right? Through the power of the union through wedding, and the wedding of family, and the wedding of blood, right? And the children that gives, and the power that they have, depending how well they were wed, right? So what happens is the bloodline of the devil, right, spread in the land, right? And all the other supernatural beings that came down with the devil, right, some of them that feed on human energy and all these different things, they descended. And where did they descend? They descended mostly in the forests, right? That the forests are like their barracks, right? Their military barracks. It's where they stay to not be around other people, mostly. So they don't usually stay within the cities, although some of them are within the cities of Romania. So as the devil came and created his bloodlines, right? And there's the story of the devil visiting other cultures also at different times, right? But the bloodline of Romania is very special, of its witches. So as he did this, he also, when he left, right? His avatar left. He left some of his forces behind, right? And they remain garrisoned within the forests of Romania, right? So that's why the forests are haunted, because the forces, the demonic forces of God, many of them remain there in those forests. Some of them go out because these forces were left to be there for the bloodline and to protect the bloodline of the devil, right? So these forces are also, some of them, assigned to each and every witch, right, to protect her, right, so that her bloodline can be protected, right? So that way, when witches are in cities, there's also usually a force of God or a force of the devil, depending on how you want to see it, a demonic force, which is basically protecting that witch. So this is one of the big reasons that witches don't usually try to attack another witch with spells, and they try to do things in different ways, because they're protected by other forces. So at that point it depends. It goes on a scale of purity of blood. So right. So this is why the forests are haunted, because they remain as barracks of the troops of the devil that stayed behind when he left. And they are there, living there, if you want to see it that way, haunting that place, those forests, right? And they don't like people when they are in their forests. Because that's where they stay away from people, except for the ones that are up and about, essentially surrounding the witches and watching over them in the bloodline, right? So the forces of the devil are watching over the witches as well. And this connection to the bloodline of the devil is what allows them really to do that work with that magic, right? That magic ability that they have to do that work with the spirits, okay, to do that work with the devil as well. And in that way, they have their ability to do different types of magic, depending also on what family bloodline it is, and the special abilities of that family bloodline. So, for example, we can use these tools, but not these tools yet, or things like that, or bringing these tools together, and the use of these tools together now allows us to develop new tools, right, and things like that. So, this is why in Romania the land is known as the land of the supernatural, because there are also the beings of the land that were there prior to the arrival of the devil and his forces. So the spirits of the land, right, which are also there as well, as they are in all land everywhere, and different levels of beings spiritually. So many levels of spiritual history in Romania. But it is known as the land of the devil because the devil came there and seeded the land with his bloodline, and in that way fulfilled that purpose for that greater part of himself that is God, to give humanity that tool, like they give humanity the doctor, or the priest. If you want to go to the divine for something, you also have the witch, which can intercede with the forces of the devil as well, and do work at that level, and is empowered in that way by a bloodline that directly comes back to the avatar of the devil, right? So that's why there's many forces, many spiritual forces, many scary forces spiritually, spiritual beings in Romania, because the whole land has a history of this, And then you say, well, why didn't everybody move out if that's the case? Because people love their land, right? And it's part of who they are too in all of this. People love their home. And it's not also a question of moving out. It's actually useful to have a witch if you need to have recourse to a witch for certain things. And as there are witches that, there are different types of witches. There are some that are very close to devil stories, the devil, dark witches, and there are some that are very powerful as well, but that are a bit on the lighter side, you know. So depending on how much darkness is within them, if you want to see it that way. So that's not even relative, essentially, to power, you know. So sometimes you have the most powerful group of witches, family of witches, and sometimes they'll be divided because there's different ways of seeing things within the ladies of the group of witches, the Sabbat or the coven, as you want to call it. Different ways of seeing things, which can lead to splinters into new covens, right? You know, as mother and daughter might not always think the same way about different things, right? So this is information about Romania, about why the forests are haunted, because they serve as barracks for the troops of the devil that stayed behind, right? And then there's also all the other spirits of the land and all that as well. But the troops of the devil that stayed behind, that are there, positioned essentially to come assist the witches if they're ever threatened or anything like that. All those forces just kind of wait until, for example, a witch is threatened or something like that, and then they come out and they deal with whoever was foolish enough to threaten the bloodline of the witches. So the witches are very powerful. And there are different witches in different parts of the world, and this is a little bit of information about the witches in the story of Romania, right? Which has the most powerful witches in the world, but there are also other places where there are very powerful witches. So a little bit of information on why the forests of Romania are haunted, because they serve as the place where those forces of the devil wait and rest and live, waiting essentially to be released, if they're ever released, if someone ever challenges the bloodline of the devil. So once again, witches, good person to go see if you think you're cursed, because they can help you out of that stuff. They're a powerful witch. And you know, some really good people that are witches. They are human after all, but they have a certain heritage story, you know, which empowers them to use magic, is what it comes down to. And yes, that empowers them to do connection to forces connected to the devil. So, you know, you probably don't want to cross a witch. It's probably not a good idea. Like, you don't want to cross any type of being of power. All the beings of power empowered in different ways, you know, like the beings of God from the armies of God that have drips, you know, so whether they have 1 drip, 2 drips, or 3 drips of power. When 3 drips is the equivalent of a supreme, you know, a 3-egg breakfast under different Adi Shri. So, you know, you have different different beings that are empowered to different levels within the system. You also have beings that come from different origin stories, such as vampire stories, or stories where there were witches, you know. And one of the fundamental stories, you know, is the first stories is the story of the vampires of the forest, right? Who fought the pigs, right? And the story of the vampires, and also the women who were the ones who did the magic, right, inside the huts, the blood magic. So many stories of different supernatural beings exist, and they are all true to the extent that they are true exactly as they are spoken. But the truth of those beings is that they are true. Thank you for listening to this video on the Zenware channel. Shavadahidim Yashayidi Katam Barakatahidim Shayam Ishwaravadak Taham Yadam.